All right. Hello. Welcome back. You're gonna be seeing the sun setting in the background here. It's currently it's just past 4 o'clock. I'm sinking into my couch here. It's very odd. Let me fix that there. Still sinking. I don't know. I have some. This is a little bit loud in my ears. There we go. Um, Stupid pants. I don't know what my intention with this is, to be honest. I just after recording the one yesterday, I don't know. I went out for dinner with my friend, and we were talking about everything that I had just talked about, which is so funny, and I don't know. That makes me believe that there's a lot of people going through a lot of things, and I hope someday these can, help people look in different areas and different dimensions of their life. And a friend of mine also states that I'm a dimension hopper myself. I like to take pride in that. But even if it's just my voice in your ears, that is fine by me, I guess. I don't know. But I think what I'll probably end up talking about today is just friendships. Friendships, relationships, just like connections that you have with other people and kind of just continuously moving forward. Because it's very interesting, the people that we meet in this world. It's very interesting the effect we have on some people. Now, forgive me if I keep going silent or if I keep looking away. I really love and I really enjoy seeing the sunsets from my apartment, since I rarely get to see them. It's either I'm out or I'm working. It's very special seeing the sunrise in my apartment for me. And again, I think that's just because I've set up my space to be my space, and I really enjoy it. And I love sunsets. So seeing it from my apartment's just a whole different... I've seen sunrises because I've had to wake up early for work, but the sun setting is such a beautiful thing to watch. And the crazy thought that the sun's just going to come back up tomorrow. We always have tomorrow, luckily. Most of us. Few of us. Make that bigger so I can check on it. But I don't know. I find relations with people is always funny because you never know what's going to happen. And there's few people in your life you think to yourself, I can't live without you. And there's few people that you can recognize, and you look at them and you go, I can definitely live without you. You're not benefiting my life at all. But sometimes that line gets very stretched, where you don't truly know where you want to set people. And it's very important to have it's very important to have that line in your head, like, no, right? You have to know where that line is, and know when you need to draw that line. I'm really loving the sunset, guys. I'm so sorry. I wish more of you could see it. If you're not watching the video. But yeah, I would just like to go through that. So, a very important thing nowadays that I think everyone needs to... Some people have gotten used to, and some people have not. But it's just the fact of change. Change will always come, and it'll always be here. And I always like to invite change. I believe change is very good for us. And if we're always changing for the better, you should just keep going, because it sounds so dumb. But no, seriously, like moving on is really important. I through my life, there's been a lot of people not lost to death, but just have losses in relation. It never really bothered me at the time, nor now. But I mean, maybe it should have, but I just didn't really feel it. But I guess that's just my body. My body knows that's not the best for me. It wasn't people charging me up, and it knows that there are better ones out there. And without straying away from some of those people, I mean, I've met the people I know today, and I appreciate people I know today and the people around me. And I always see myself kind of continuously growing, and I always see myself changing, and the right people essentially stick around, and the right people will stick around for you as well. Now, there's another thing about that saying where people are always saying, "Oh, if we met today, would we still be friends?" And I think if you have to ask that, you've already got your answer, because you shouldn't need to ask that. As you get older, your circle gets smaller, and when you're younger, you think your friends are everything, and you think you're gonna have the same ones for the rest of your life. It's just not a fact. You can't do that. It's impossible. And that's okay. That's all right to not keep everyone, because some people don't want to stay. And it's so funny. This one guy, we were on the golf course, and he'd gone away for a while, and his friend had texted him saying, "Hey, I really didn't appreciate you not messaging me while you were gone." And he showed me. He got it. And he showed me. I went, "What? What the like this?" That's coming from, and at that time he had thought to himself. He was like, "Yeah, this is I think our breaking point, because I shouldn't need to do that with a true friend." And friendships they're very funny, like some people you don't even remember becoming friends with. You've just been friends with forever. And some people you remember how you became friends, but it's you just clicked immediately. And there's people like that, and those are, to me, the most valuable friendships you can have, because I don't know, they're just it's so organic, and it's so it's organic, and it's so just pure human connection, pure human relation. And I love every bit of it. I love and going back to the dating apps thing, this is why I hate dating. Like, I love the organically meeting somebody. Like, I love the story behind it. A fun thing to do is whenever, say, you have grandparents or older people around, you say, "Oh, how'd you meet?" And some people love saying stories of how they met. And there's one story I have, actually, of I have a how I met story with a friend of mine, and every time I'm asked it, I'm always brightened up by saying it, because I love saying it, and because, again, it was just a purely organic way of meeting, and it's become one of my strongest friendships today. Most of my strongest friendships today are the ones I had organically met. I think the way of the universe is it'll bring the right people to you. And yeah, the best friendships I have are organically met, either through the same interests, or through other people, or through me literally walking up to them. And there's one point where I was in university and this was after I took a little break, and then I came back. But there's this one guy. His name's Sean, actually. Sean, if you see this is you know this story. I was coming back into a year where I knew no one except for my friend's sister. And I saw at the same class as this one guy, Sean. I saw him in almost every one of my classes, and he had bleached hair. And at the time, I'd always wanted to bleach my hair, and everyone around me just kept saying no. And even my barber, I said, "Oh, can we bleach my hair?" He goes, "No." Thank God, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool he had bleached hair. And I thought to myself, okay, I want to be his friend. So I was working at Jack Astor's at the time, and at Jack Astor's there's this lollipop bowl. And I, well, let me, whatever. There's this lollipop bowl, and I always had lollipops with me. And I also had this kind of like coat with this fur inside that feels like a panda's hugging you. And also I do magic tricks. Just this is a whole round of things. Wow, the sky looks really beautiful right now. I really hope I can catch some of it here. But yeah, so I one of the classes I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, you want to see a magic trick?" He went, "Of course, I'd love to see a magic trick." So I said, "Okay, put on this coat." He puts on the coat. I said, "Now give yourself a hug." Gives himself a hug. He goes, "Oh, this is so comfy." I said, "I know." I pulled out a deck of cards and I did a magic trick. And he went, "What?" And then I said, "Yeah, and here's a lollipop." And then every day for 2 weeks, whenever I'd sit behind him, I'd give him a lollipop. And it was funny because I only had one lollipop to give. And the person he would sit next to would go, "Oh, can I get a lollipop?" And I went, "Oh, no, that was my last one." It was every single day. Every single day, Sean had gotten a lollipop from me, and the guy sitting next to him would ask for one, and I would say, "No, sorry, man." That guy ended up not really liking me, and that's understandable because he never really got a lollipop. But yeah, that's full playground rules. Playground rules. If you ever want to make a friend as an adult, just start giving them candy. If you see them often, just start giving them candy, and honestly, it sparks up just a funny friendship, in my opinion. I really enjoyed that story. Again, just it's organically met, and we have a lot of memories together now. I truly care for him so much, and I could see him in my life almost forever. And I truly want the best for him all the time. And I think that's really important. We start to lose sight of making friends. We think that when we get older, making friends is so hard. I mean, it gets harder. Life gets harder, guys. And in university it's a bit easier to make those friends, but there's still ways. Like I actually, a friend of mine, I met a friend of mine from work. You know, we're working on set, and we just both loved video games, and we'd always chat about it. Now he hangs out in my Discord. He has the same friend, like he knows the same people I know in my Discord, and had become integrated into my online friend group. And I think that's another thing. You can create different friend groups in different aspects. Like I've got my online friends, I've got my travel friends, and I've got my people I kind of keep at like arm's reach. I've got people in a closer circle, and then people that are like the closest to me, and I love every one of them as much as I can, and I can see I try and give them as much love as I can. Some may feel more than others, and I wish I do love a lot. I love a lot. I love a lot of different people. I love a lot of different versions of people. Like I said, I'm always here to try and bring people up. Yeah, I think loving a lot is it's definitely a trait. Some people can't do it. Some people can't love different groups of people. And I always get people always bring up that I have different groups of people. I enjoy that because like each I've discovered about myself. This kind of hurt my brain for a bit, but I discovered that each group of my friends were just different aspects of my personality. Like I have a group of friends, we call them the car guys, and those guys are an emphasis of my love of cars, my love of going fast and adrenaline and being stupid, being young, that's my personality, and that friend group matches that personality, so they match that energy. I've got my kind of like artist friend group where it's like actors and doing fun creative things, and sometimes the groups mix, and it's so fun to see them mix sometimes. Sometimes they don't. And again, it's good to take a step back as well. Take a step back and look at your friend groups and look at the people you're surrounded by, and really judge yourself based off those friend groups, because you are an extension of the 5 people who you surround yourself with. And if you start surrounding yourself with successful people, you'll inevitably become successful, and which is great. And if you surround yourself with bad people, bad influences, you'll end up becoming a bad influence. You end up doing bad things, and it's all funny when you do take a step back. You need to almost have an ego death and see how everyone sees you from an exterior viewpoint. I've gone through an ego death once. That's all you need. But I pulled myself out of it. I did. I was in a situation that makes you go into ego death, and I was laying on a couch, and I had been transported to this higher plane. I'm really into this thing. It's called the Soul Family. It was this study done by this hypnotist named Michael Newton. You can find the article online, but essentially he had hypnotized, I think it was 1,000 people, something like that, some number of people, and I think the rate was like 99% or something like that had come back saying the same thing. But what he had done was he had hypnotized all these people to their past lives and had taken them closest to their death and had them recall what they saw. And the majority had said, there's this pull, right? When you die, you kind of get pulled out of your body, and you can see everyone around, say the hospital bed or something like that. And you have this pull to go up, or you can stay and see who shows up at your funeral and stuff like that. But the strength of the pull kind of lessens the longer that you stay. So the people who did not resist the pull, and they let it pull them up, they recalled there's this line that you start passing. You feel yourself passing this line. And as we know, time currently is just this linear construct, essentially, where it's always continuous. But once you pass this line, it's the past, present, and the future all at the same time. And you're then introduced to people you felt like you've known forever, but they're these massive like entities, these massive beings of energy, like so massive that if all of that energy had been put into one body, it would explode. It's just so much. And so you meet these beings, and they come up to you, and you feel like you've known them forever, and they ask you, so how was it? And you can take a look back at the life that you had lived and all the memories and all the emotions that you felt. And it's almost like the saying, it's not even a saying, it's, I think it was Lily Reinhardt that said this, that if I was approached by this all magical being saying, hey, would you like to feel every single emotion ever constructed, love, pain, anger, happiness, all in a short period amount of time, if you're immortal? And obviously your answer is going to be yes. And sorry, this sunset's really going down quick. The sky's all pink and blue. It's so pretty with some clouds. Oh, that's great. Some days you just really have to appreciate the sunset. It's the end of a day, but just means that another one's going to start soon. And the one that starts soon could be the day that changes your life. You never know. Sorry, I just went off topic there. And so the whole study with Michael Newton, where he, when you're up there, again, you see all these people you felt like you've known forever, and you had just played the game of life, right? And when you're up there, you can choose to come back down, and you go to the different people. You say, hey, I want you to be my mom. I want you to be my dad. I want you to be my soulmate. I want you to be my twin flame, all this stuff. And the thing is that you can say that because, again, you're above time and space, and they can place things everywhere. the whole thing is that you have a predetermined life, but just the major points. But once you get down to earth, you have free will. And so all earth is this game of, will you end up with what you had planned, or will you veer off the course? But there'll always be little nudges to bring you towards those kind of the people that you had mentioned before, like your energetic pull. But again, some people choose to ignore it. Some people choose to avoid it. And that's the aspect of free will. And, I wouldn't say that we have free will. Certain things may be predetermined, but certain things we may have a decision over. And I think it's all based off of, it depends on what you believe, You can believe whatever you want to believe. This is kind of currently what I believe. And the feeling of that there is a higher power is actually linked to the part of the brain that is control of fight or flight. So fight or flight is the oldest developed part of the brain since we had it since we were in primitive times. And the feeling of a higher power kind of controlling everything is an association to that part of the brain. And so that's just been with humankind for as long as we've been here. And then the emotional brain developed. And then a while after, the logical brain, which brought us the wheel and all that stuff. If you find yourself, the emotional brain's really funny. If the emotional brain had full control and you looked at these holes in a wall, one was a circle, one was a square, one was a triangle, and you had shapes that would be able to fill it, the emotional brain wouldn't be able to pick which one because it's irrational. And there's a bridge between the emotional and the logical brain, and the logical brain obviously would be able to put the pieces in. And what links the two is actually breathing, is oxygen being introduced to your brain. And that's something that we tend to forget to do if we're ever in a high stress, high tense situation. We tend to forget to breathe, and our emotional brain takes over, and it's almost like we see black, right? And we look back and go, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And it's really important to remember to breathe. There's a breathing exercise I learned recently from a friend of mine, and it's to take a deep breath, and then once you've reached your end, you go like a bit more. Just take a bit more. So it's I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but you kind of go, and you hold it, and then you let it out slowly. So if you find yourself in a high stress situation, you can do that, and just do that 3 times, and that will momentarily let a sliver of your logical brain come back. And a lot of it's also kind of just finding control over yourself. And some people, so the logical brain is dominant in a lot of male, and the emotional is dominant in a lot of females. And, the emotional brain goes for what it feels like, and the logical brain goes for what it thinks is right. And being able to think with both is a really useful tool, especially if you want to make big decisions, if you have a lot of responsibility. Being able to use both, it gives you the capability of being creative, and gives you the ability to really be empathetic with people while giving good advice. And I've been working, I think, I've been studying this for 6 years, not like professionally, but I used to do these courses in Florida, and they had explained this, and I do my own studying into it because I just find it very interesting, because a lot of people have this, and a lot of people, it's very rare to find people who are capable of speaking with their logical and emotional brain. And if you do, again, you get the ability to figure out how people feel, and you can be empathetic towards how someone feels, and you can then kind of feel their feelings, and then make a decision based off that. And it leads to just so many different, and in every book, there was this book that I read, which was The Art of Mind Reading. You don't actually learn how to read minds, but it did actually teach me how to catch people lying. I've literally caught someone lying to my face after reading this book, which is crazy. It's The emphasis though is it's all in the eyes. I used to be really bad at keeping my eye contact with people, but after this book, I've learned to really use it because it helps you read people. But too much eye contact is it's a bit intimidating to some people, and so it's good to break the tension by looking away. But again, the thing is that the eyes. So, and also it's all in the face. Your facial muscles react at such a quick amount of time before your brain can actually process it. And so if you're talking to someone, you're really, really looking at them and really paying attention. You can see based off of their literal muscle movements what they truly mean. And this has helped me kind of connect with a lot of people in different ways, and it's really helped me understand what some people are really trying to say, and I do value it a lot. I like this sunset is just great. Some days I just wish I could fly in the clouds all the time. Like on a day like this, I would just fly up to the top of a cloud and just lay down on the fluffiness and watch the sunset from the sky. I'd love to do that. But yeah, so another thing with the mind is, I guess, trauma. Like a lot of people have some deep-rooted traumas they can't really root certain things back to. And a lot of your patterns today and a lot of your, addictions or allergies could be linked to it's called like a core memory, like a base memory, essentially. And if you become emotionally numb to that memory, you're capable of ridding yourself of all this other baggage that you have that has spawned from it, essentially. So there's this practice where you sit down in a room, and typically you have someone who's kind of guiding you through it. And you it's just about repetition. It's repetition until you become emotionally numb about a situation. And once you get down to that root memory, you'll know, because you'll have all of the emotions coming out at that time, and then you keep repeating that memory until you feel emotionless about it, and it almost empowers you a ton. Like it empowers because you feel like you have control again. Another thing I've been doing recently, a friend of mine and I have discovered, and we discovered this at work actually. Like we were just getting demolished, and we knew we were gonna fix it, but when we kind of like sat down, because we tend to get very passionate about it. We said, I decided, I don't care. And sometimes that's all you need. I've been sharing this with my friends, and I've been encouraging it as a lifestyle kind of thing where, if you ever are anxious or you're overthinking a situation, you kind of just go, you say it out loud. You have to say it out loud. You say, I decided, and if someone's there, they'll say what? And you go, I don't care. And it literally is a relief. It's a literal relief from your chest, because you're almost convincing yourself you truly don't care. And that's very... You can still care about things, but if you just decide not to care, it can't really take control over you anymore. And that's what we have to work on is your thoughts taking control of you, because you're the one who's driving, and these thoughts shouldn't be taking control of you. They should be helping you propel forward. Now there's this other thing with friends that I had also been going through, and I think a lot of people our age go through. I'm also on this subreddit. It's called r/adulting, and it's essentially supposed to be a page where people can go and post their tricks to trying to adult. because I believe that the switch between student life and adult life, it's difficult. It's definitely difficult, and it's difficult for a lot of people, especially if you've never really been on your own. And so when I had first started working, just for context, I'm currently the youngest person doing my job professionally, and it's a lot of responsibility for what I do. And when I'd first gotten here, I moved up really, really quick. I moved up very fast. Not a lot of people are able to do what I did. I was one of the first ones to do that, actually, and it's just it was definitely, I definitely felt a lot of imposter syndrome at that time because I felt like I didn't deserve it. But someone had told me that if you're feeling imposter syndrome, it just means that you're in the right place. It means that you're shaking the ball, you're shaking the tree. And so most of the people, one, who do my job, and two, who are in the same industry as I'm in, they tend to be 30 and above. Like, quite literally. Every person I thought was, like, who looked relatively young, close to my age, I'd walk up to them and be like, hey, like, how old are you? And they'd say, oh, I'm 30. Like, no one was, maybe there was one, like, 28. And there are a few people who are, like, relative to my age there, but none in kind of, like, the higher positions. And so I usually talk to the ones closer to my age, but for a bit I was kind of just by myself. I didn't know anyone. I was still just trying to make some friends and trying to network and understand where I was. And it got to a point where I ended up talking to 30-year-olds, talking to the mid 30-year-olds and stuff like that all the time. And you have a lot of coming out of school compared to being established and being mid 30s. Your problems are completely different. Like, you have complete different problems, which is okay. That's fine. But it got to a point where I had started thinking, oh, I need to have the same problems as these people. Say like mortgage or getting married and stuff like that. And so it started getting to me a bit where I was worrying like, oh shit, like I need to worry about a mortgage. I need to worry about all this stuff. And at the time I was 23, I think 23 or 22. And I started having the same kind of thoughts and like worries as a 30-year-old. And it took a phone call with my dad. I cherish my dad. I cherish him a ton. He is a person who sees the absolute gold heart in every single person and gives everyone a chance. And I'll never admit to the kind of man that he is, but I am constantly trying to become just a sliver of what he is. And I call him and I'm worrying about all this stuff. And he says, whoa, Christian, hold on. Just calm down 1 second. How old are you? And I went, I'm 20, 23, 22, because again, you feel like you're running out of time. You need to make the most of all your time, all this stuff. And so, yeah, I said, I'm 22, 23. And he goes, exactly. You're 22 or you're 23. You're fine. You're doing fine. Stop worrying about all that stuff. This is your time where you're allowed to be done. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to, live life a bit. You're allowed to enjoy time with your friends. You're having the worries of a 30-year-old when you're almost a decade away from that. Oh God, I'm half a decade away from that now. And then that actually made me take a step back, and I thought to myself, yeah, you're right. Because I was worried about not being completely established, but I'd only been in the industry for, a year or less than a year. And these people had been there for much, much longer than I have, and have seen a lot more than I have and experienced a lot more than I have. And it wasn't until this year where I've started to actually feel established in the industry, where, everywhere I went, I could recognize people and have continuing conversations with people. And yeah, I think it's really important for people at this age who are moving into the professional world to just remember that, you're going to a world with 30, 40, 50-year-olds, all who have been there doing this for a long time. They see you as a young buck. You start making adult money and you start having adult responsibilities. But still remember, you're still a young guy. You're still a young person. You have a ton of time. If you want to party, you can party. If you want to go on adventures, you can go on. If you want to go on trips, you can go on trips. And don't let what all the older people tell you negatively affect you. Some give really good advice and some give advice of jealousy, since some of them took them a bit longer to find out what they wanted to do, and some people like to let that out on the younger people because it's an easy target. It's like picking on the little kid in class, but don't let it deter you. And from my experience, things do get better. They do get better. And you just have to kind of keep pushing, and you're only in that position that you got because you deserved it. You worked hard for it. And it's important not to forget that. I had forgotten that for a second. That, I did countless day-night days where I was awake for 48 hours straight, working 46 of those hours. And I was losing sight of it. But then, again, my dad had reminded me, he goes, no, you worked your literal butt off to get to where you are. It's okay. You need to learn to enjoy what you've worked for. Now, remember, you do have to plan for your future. You have to be smart. I was a bit dumb sometimes, but I'm starting to smarten up now. And yeah, I think it's what your 20s are for. You're before your 20s, you're a teenager. That's crazy. Like me now compared to when I was 17, even 19, is a completely different person. And so the amount of growth you go through in your young adulthood is it should be immense. If you're stuck in that high school mentality, you're not really going to end up going too far, because you get stuck in all the social classes, and you get stuck in a lot of things that don't really matter towards the bigger picture. And it is unfortunate for some people to get stuck there. But again, sometimes it's just their life. It's just their life to care about those things. Now, I do freelance, and I'd never a little corporate experience. I never really had the full corporate experience. And I think it's funny having kind of the culture shock of people's different jobs, and seeing the people you grew up with, seeing what they end up doing, and seeing how they end up growing up as, and who they end up becoming is really interesting to me. A lot of people end up where you think they'll end up, and a lot of people still end up where you think they'll end up, if you understand what that means. But some people do surprise you. But since I'm, freelance, I can kind of choose when I want to have time off. I don't work every day. I work, I can work. Sometimes I do work every day, including weekends. I can have a 14 continuous workday stretch. I can have a 20 workday stretch without any time off in between. But it's only based off of how much I end up booking myself on. And, hearing the complaints of people who are in a 9-to-5, this is where I got the culture shock, right? I had planned this ski trip with two of my friends, and I wanted my other friend to come. And I said, hey, man, I booked this thing. It's going to be just for one night. I'd love for you to come. And he said, oh, I've used up all my vacation days. I went, wait, that had set me back, because I had forgotten that vacation days and sick days were a thing. I mean, it's great. You get to get you get paid to go on vacation. Like if I am not working, I'm not getting paid. Um, but then in my head, I thought that was crazy because then there's no. It's almost as if you're still living at home. Like you don't have your full independence. You have to ask somebody in order to do something. And I always had a problem with authority, especially when I worked retail and stuff. I don't know. It's again those 30-year-olds, those the people who are there for a while. It was hard for me to take authority from them, and like I tried my best, but they, I don't know. I'd always thought to myself, why are you like getting mad at me over this? You're here, and I'm still young. I still have my doors I can go through. It's kind of a dick thing to ever say to anybody, and I never said it to anyone. I never took too many things seriously. I worked really hard. I worked really hard at any job I had. I was always one of the top employees there. And but like that also became another thing where I knew I was one of the hardest workers there, and so it made me slack off in other senses. And again, I like take less opinions from authoritative figures. It's a fine line. It's a fine line where you need to cross in terms of taking things seriously and taking things as a joke. Because you take things as a joke too much, you start slacking off, you become lazy, and then if you take things too serious, people are like, you can calm down. I guess back to the student adult switch. When you're a student, things are kind of given to you, like you're given leeways, and then when you're an adult, it's kind of like, it's like the switch from high school to university. High school, you get a lot of, you get attendance and teachers, so I mean, depends on what school you go to, but most teachers relatively care, and they want you to get good grades to get into a good school. And I always told people who were going from high school to university, I said, if you miss a class, they don't care, but you're missing the information that you're paying for. And if you submit an essay a day late, it's just a 0. There's no like, oh, like, sorry, miss, like there's no, it's just a 0. And then when you get to the working field, it's like you have to be there. Like you have to. Certain aspects, people rely on you, and if something's late, that could be critical to the revenue of the business. I think it's just funny seeing each transition there, because each one tries to prepare you for the next in the complete opposite way. In the absolute opposite way. And they say, this is how it's going to be. And then once you get there, you're like, that's not what I was told. I was not told this at all. I was literally lied to. I don't know. I can appreciate the certain things, but some things were just a bit too harsh, and they were not necessary, I would say. And some people were a bit too harsh. And what I did take from each transition, though, is to just get friends from the situations. Like from each situation, I would say I've kept at least one friend from each phase, from each chapter. And so they knew me in that sense. It's always just about the people you know. At the end of the day, it's about the people that you surround yourself with. It's the people you know. It's the people who are able, like whoever has certain aspirations to go anywhere, based off of whatever connections I have, I will try and connect them. I will try and take them to where they want to go. Because I love doing that. And, that's why I always tell people who are in school is yes, and ingest all the knowledge, and yes, learn your critical thinking skills, because we need more critical thinkers in this world. It seems like we're running low on them. But more importantly, make connections, because you never know where anyone's going to end up. And you meet, like, there's this, like, one story here. In high school, I had this co-op at this Aboriginal school, and the co-op was kind of like a film thing. We would learn about Aboriginal and Indigenous film and history, and we'd make our own films based off of that. I'm not Aboriginal or Indigenous, and this kind of like grew my love for those people and that history. And I really enjoyed the different culture that they had. I enjoyed the principles that they had as well. But I met this guy. He was a cool guy, and we'd all kind of hang out, and it was just kind of like a school affiliation kind of thing. But we still followed each other on Instagram, and still I never really kept in touch. But we were still both there in the background. So one day he messages me on Instagram, and he mentions that he had gotten into actually the same program I was in university, and he really wanted to set up a phone call because he saw that I was doing what the people in that school want to do inevitably. And I always told people, I said, like, learn what you need to learn, and then forget everything that you just learned when you get out into the real world. And so I ended up having that call with him, and he had mentioned that the film industry seems like this mystical place that is really hard to get into, and I said it's actually not. It's easy to get into, it's hard to stay in, because of the long hours, and people get hired again more based off their personality, not based off what they know. It helps if you know a lot. It helps if you're skilled at what you do. But at the end of the day, you're hired based off your personality, because it's all based off of, do I want to spend 12 to 15 hours with this person? Yes or no? Right? Am I able to chat with them? Are they a personable person? Will they bring the vibe down, or will they help increase it? And so I told him that, and I said it's important to learn what you will learn in that course, but none of it had set me up for what I'm doing today. I had to reteach myself every single thing that I know. But I did appreciate all the connections I made from the school, and I appreciate it's also good to have the degree. I know the world's kind of moving to a place where you don't need it, but there's a noticeable difference between people who have that degree and people who don't. And like, especially when you talk to them, it's mostly just when you talk to them and where they end up. You can tell who kind of never extended learning, because I've literally heard people say, why would I do that when I know more than the teacher? My argument is, you never know more than any other person on this planet, because they'll always know something that you don't. No matter what it is, could be the smallest things. Someone will always know something that you do not, and you always have something to learn from another person. People will people can teach you a lot of things, and you need to really value that, and you need to value the people around you, because it's a wild world out there, and everyone has something that they I'm gonna turn this on. And I say this all the time, people are so interesting, and you need to really appreciate the things that people have to say, because sometimes what they say may change your life. They may change your perspective, they may change your beliefs, but you'll never know. Another example, I went to a friend of mine's kind of like concert, and it was in a church, and there was a person who stood out, literally looked like a rock star from the 80s in a church where everyone's kind of dressed up. And I ended up talking with him, and he was a phenomenal person and amazing human being. And we just talked about the universe and everything in between, and just an immaculate vibe. And a lot of people just were quick to judge by the cover, but then once they started to talk to him, they're like, oh, like, I really appreciate that person. I just love every person's floating through this space and time with us. And there's no point in judging based off of how people look, because sometimes, people are just having fun. It doesn't matter how you look. Just have fun. Enjoy the life that you've been given. So yeah, I guess to conclude all this, really appreciate the people that you have around you, but also take a step back and see who truly is there to be there and who's truly there to be there for you. It's very easy to get caught up and lose that, but just take a step back and don't be afraid to change. Always be willing to change your outlook on things, always be willing to change how you perceive things, and everyone perceives reality different, and every connection we make is just us trying to understand how a different person perceives their reality. So appreciate the people, and I would say the assignment for today would be to really, really just take a step back, be able to sit down on your couch and enjoy just being there by yourself and passing a time, but also start taking that step back and seeing, because I've done this a few times where I've just taken a full step back from every group I've had and just really evaluated what it truly was to me and what it was to them, and in what cases it helped the two of us. And it did help me. I would almost say prune, but that's a bit mean. But it's very beneficial to really do that, because it helps you grow into the person that you need to become the best version of yourself every other day, right? Always grow to be a better version than you were of yesterday. So Simon is just take a day or two and just step back and a view from above of the people around you, because the people who surround you are the ones who affect your personality the most. And if you feel that you're being dragged down by something, don't be afraid to change that, because you need to take control of your life. You need to keep moving forward, and you can't afford to have anyone put you back, because we are limited on the amount of time we have in the bigger picture. In the day-to-day, we have a ton of time, but in the bigger picture, we are limited time, so you shouldn't waste it on people who are a negative impact on you. Thanks for, if anyone is even there, thanks for listening, and I appreciate all of your souls, and I really hope you can take what I say home and ponder on it a little bit, because again, I'm just a talking head I'm just a dude on a couch, sitting on the couch talking, and I do hope to make people believe in themselves, because that's a very valuable thing. Just believe in yourself. Everything will get better. Everything's going to be okay. Thank you.